Okay, so what we're going to be looking at here is a tutorial on how to shade the parts of your illustration with the mixer tool, which is different from the way we shaded the sphere with the soft pressure, opacity, and flow brush. So what you see here is I've got my base layer, the cat fur face, I named it right here. And then I'm going to be putting in the shading on the inner ear. So I've named a new layer called cat inside ear. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color it in with some flat color. However, I'm paying attention to where I want the ear to be light and dark as I place that base layer down. So it's not just one color. So here I go figuring out how to do it. So I'm putting down my darkest color first because it's darker towards the bottom of the ear inside a cat ear. I did have to look at examples for reference. I'm figuring out my brush. I'm noticing my opacity was down. So these common things we have to make adjustments as we go to our brushes. And I'm thinking about where to put these kind of color block out the gradation of it from dark to light in this ear. So obviously it's getting lighter as it moves away from the base of the ear, the inside of the ear, and towards the top where the light would hit it more. Again, just filling it in flat color, thinking about where would the ear cast a shadow over the inside of the ear, putting down that, blocking out that shadow there. And zooming out to check to see what it's gonna look like. And I'm realizing I missed that kind of inside before the inner ear. So I'm going in, neatening up, erasing what is still considered fur. Okay. So just doing some carefully considered coloring. Now I'm switching my brush to a mixer brush. And I'm gonna pause the video here. So your mixer brush, if you look here, it looks where my arrow is. It has a little kind of water drop, okay? And you can see up here the mixer brush setting. So when I work on the mixer brush, I like to use a soft brush to get that smooth shading. You can do mixer brush with texture too, and I have videos on that. But the inside of the ear is smooth, and you can see here I'm going to have to adjust my settings so that my color is here. You select your color, and that's going to be your blending color. And these buttons here at the top, the two paint brushes, you're going to want to click those so that your brush stays fully loaded with your mixing color. So here I am adjusting them. And now I'm using this kind of base gray to blend. I'm picking up the lighter gray to blend. And I'm blending right on my base layer. So I'm gonna have to go in and use my eraser to clean up the other layers. And you can see I'm adjusting my flow and my load. You don't want it totally too much paint coming out. I am adjusting the wetness is at 90, so it's gonna mix more the wetter the brushes. And you can see I'm adding in some black. So I'm moving back and forth between my colors using the mixer brush to blend. I just picked up some pink to blend in, and it was too pink. So I'm creating a clipping mask here to overlay pink on top of what I've already mixed. So you can work with clipping masks over the mixer brush, but when you're doing the mixer brush itself, you'll want to mix directly on your base layer. And then you can see I'm taking the eraser and just cleaning up on my base layer where my mixer brush went outside the lines. So now I'm back on that base layer, cleaning it up, and I'm using a hard brush to clean it up so I get those nice crisp lines. And then I'm going into my clipping mask layer and just darkening the inside part of the ear. So I'm really working in two shading ways. And then I'm examining my work close up and far away. And now I'm going in and I'm kind of experimenting with color, adding a little pink with my regular brush to the front. And here I thought I could erase that shadow a little bit, bring in some of that blue. So I'm just using my eraser tool to kind of lighten my shading. I have the opacity turned way down on my eraser tool. So again, it's like finding what works. Now I'm adding in some more shading onto that base layer. Again, right now I am not using the mixer brush. I already mixed my colors and now I'm just kind of working on top of them using the base layer and the clipping mask layer. And that's where our video stops. However, if you look, if I come out of here and we look at my file, so excuse the abrupt change, and we look at the file for this project, I did do some more work on the ear. So I'm just going to bring up that, here it is. And I'm just going to show you what I did after when I was working on this. The technical difficulties occurred. So I'm just going to have to show you the second part. So if we look now, I had my base layer with the mixer brush and then working the clipping mask layer over it. And then I went in and I simply took my a hard round brush and I started putting in line work over it just to get that extra detail, that extra texture to emphasize the inner part of the ear. So when we are shading, we're putting down our shading, but then we will be also adding in detail with line work and texture with line work. You're moving back and forth between shading and line. But that is a very quick tutorial on the mixer brush. To review, your mixer brush is under your regular paintbrush, so it's under this brush here. Okay, it looks like that. And remember, you need to lay down, you have to block out your colors, your darks, your lights, your lightest, and then you can take the mixer brush here. You select your color up here. So what colors will you use? Or you can use your picker tool and pick the colors to mix. And then you want to make sure this button and this button are locked and that you're using a soft round pressure opacity if you want smooth mixing. And I will post another tutorial on mixing with texture. But again, if you don't place your base colors down first and then mix those colors together directly on the layer, moving back and forth between your 3 or 4 colors that you laid down, it won't work. So I hope this helps. And of course, when using the mixer brush, don't hesitate to ask.